From last edition, Mr. Alade gave up his educational pursuit to support his children in their academics. Guess what happened in this family during this holiday? On this edition titled, Who Should I Carry? This is a true life story. The name and the location has been changed. There is a Yoruba adage which states that when there is fresh water, fresh fish also come up, which highlights how Ade teaching method differs from their father teaching. When he started the home lesson for Ayo and Afe, his teaching was the opposite of their father. In fact, the home lesson become more of harvest of punishment for Ayo and Afe than the main purpose of teaching them, that is, their father original intention. He would beat them like criminal for the slightest mistake they made during reading or writing, to the point that they often cried themselves into a stupor during each lesson. Yet, Ade never had pity in the name of coaching them. At the end of each lesson, Ayo would sit down gently on the bench outside the house, while Afe would go for his afternoon siesta. Whenever Afe woke up, both Ayo and Afe would secretly meet at the backyard to talk heart to heart and said, Ade is just beating us for fun. Did you get anything from what he taught us yesterday and today? One will ask the question and the second person will respond, and the response was usually no. In dining, when either or both of them requested for more food, Ade would angrily say it was because of too much food that made them forget all they were taught easily, and this lead to bad results, so they shouldn't be given enough food. Imagine the traumatic situation Ayo and Afe found themselves as a result of this home lesson, which was too hard to believe. Ade knew how to play his game perfectly, so he always made sure their dad was not at home before he started the home lesson, and he made sure he ends the class before his arrival. So whenever their dad came back, he always found Ayo sitting down quietly outside, while Afe would be sleeping. He wasn't aware of Ade's style of teaching, and this continued till the school resumed. As God will have it, on one fateful day, during the family dinner, Ayo requested for more food, and Ade responded in his usual way, and their father was furious as he warned Ade to stop saying they shouldn't be given enough food. That was how an end came to the denial of food for Ayo and Afe. But with all that was happening, Ayo was at the disadvantage because she wasn't as wise and brilliant as Afe. So during the home lesson, Ade beat her more than Afe, claiming she should be the one teaching Afe, since it was Afe's textbook that he was used in teaching both of them. So at home, Ade battled with her mom oppression, Miss Kuti Baba abuse, and their eldest brother Ade beating and molestation joined them during the holiday. Though Afe had his relief at school, but during the holiday, both of them took part in the abuse at home. Notwithstanding, with all the punishment and Baba abuse, Ayo and Afe were happy that they were not made to repeat their classes. As the saying goes, even in the worst situation, there is always a silver line. Similarly, even amidst tense times at home, there are moments of fun, smiles, and excitement. This was what happened on this fateful day when Ade and his sibling and their mom were peeling cassava and eating boiled corn, which they brought from their farm. Eating corn in Mr. Alade's family was always a time of fun, laughter, and telling exciting stories. This was because whenever they were coming from the farm, they came with more than enough fresh corn, boiled some and roasted some, and some of the boiled corn were shared with the neighbors like Miss Kuti and Miss Daniela. It was on one of these days that Ade was telling his sibling a unique story of thoughtful reflection. What could make anyone had a rethink on the way he or she lives? That very day, when they were peeling cassava that was to be processed to garri, when Ade came with his story from a Yoruba comic magazine called Akatunka. Akatunka was a Yoruba comics and monthly magazine series with lot of ancient tales of Yoruba warrior, some events that happened in the city, true life story, and jokes to impart wisdom into the lives of primary and secondary school pupils. This magazine also impart lot of moral lesson for children, especially on obedience and deviation from bad habits. It was on one of the series Ade read a story titled Tani Kingbe, which means who should I carry? It was a story of three teenage boys that were friends in the same village. Their names were Bayo, Alex, and Jade, who were childhood friends right from primary school till when they were in their teenage years. While they were playing, Alex, the most fashionable of them, suggested an idea that they all agree upon. Each of them should ask their mother for a horse. Upon arriving home that day, Bayo and Alex's mom gave them the money for their horse, while Jade's mom said no, not because she cannot afford it, but because she simply didn't want to. Jade bursted into tears and he started crying, sitting down in front of the house with his hands on her head. He was on this spot when his stepmom, who was coming from the market, met him crying and asked why he was crying like a baby. And he narrated the whole event to her, and she immediately gave her the money for the horse. Jade quickly went to his friends, and the three of them took their journey to horse market and get their horses, enjoying the breeze. 2 years after this incident, there was a crisis between their village and one of the neighboring village, and so everyone, young and old, started running for safety. Bayo and Alex carried their mother on their horse, while Jade was contemplating on what to do, as his mother said he must carry her, while Jade's stepmom said she was the rightful owner of the horse, and so Jade must carry her. Mind you, the horse cannot carry more than 2 adults. Jade was left between two opinions, so he bursted into tears shouting, "Who should I carry?" When Ade finished the story, he turned to Ayoka's direction and asked, "Ayoka, who did you think Jade should carry on his horse?" Ayoka responded sharply, "The stepmother, of course." Ajayi snapped. In situation like this, Jade's mom should not wait at all. She should start running for safety, because if the stepmother didn't give Jade the money, Jade would not have the horse, and since his mother didn't pay for the horse belonged to the stepmother. Moreover, it was not that Jade engaged in manual labor to get the money for the horse. The money was given to him by the stepmother, and so the stepmother is the rightful owner of the horse. If possible, Jade should give the stepmother the horse and let her ride her horse. He and his mother should start running for safety, and this was the unanimous decision, as they all chorused, "That is the truth." Their mother, who had been silent and patiently listening throughout the time while Ade was narrating the story, also listened to their conclusion that the stepmom should be carried instead of their mother, and so she cut in as their conclusion didn't go down well with her at all. And she said, in her opinion, a mother is a mother, irrespective of what she does to her children. But the children won't agree with her, saying a mother who didn't give money should not show up at all. She should just believe his son didn't have the horse, as the horse belonged to the stepmother. And so their mom shook her head and left the scene with mixed feeling, because it was obvious to her that her children didn't take her advice that day. It was when she left the scene, Ayoka said, "A mother in need," and all of them responded at once. Is a mother indeed, not a mother by mouth. Remember, they were still peeling the cassava to be processed to garri. Garri processing was one of the most tedious work Mr. Alade family were engaging with, which Ayo did not like at all, because she was the laziest of all the children, and so she procrastinated the most. Moreover, she was a story lover, and that was the reason she always airdropping. Of all the farm work, processing cassava into garri is particularly tedious, because after peeling the cassava, it's washed, then they carry it on their head from Amo, where they were living in Eruga to another street in Eruga called Okegaga, a trek of an hour, 30 minutes each way, where the woman who used large manual grater grate the cassava into cassava paste. To make the matter worse, sometimes when they arrived in her house, she had enough for that day, and so she would tell them to come back the next day, and all other processes follow after some days. Meanwhile, their dad was not around when this discussion on who should I carry was going on. So, in the evening, Ayo had her mom narrating the story of who should I carry to their father, and the children unanimous decision to carry their stepmother, which she did not expected from them. Their dad's comment was like the last straw that breaks the camel back, because he said children knows who value and help them. That is the reason one should take care of his children and provide for their needs. This comment made their mom angry, and she said, "You are supporting evil by saying the children's decision to carry the stepmother was right." She angrily rose up, hissed, shrugged, then speak loud for all in the house to hear. "Your mother is your mother, irrespective of what she did to you, her children." It was a common belief among the Yorubas that life is a mixture of good and bad. This was certainly the case in the small Face Me, I Face You bungalow where Mr. Alade and his family live. Besides Mrs. Alade, also known as Ayo's mom, there were two other women, Miss Kuti, the short, cruel, heartless teacher of Ayo when she was in primary 3, whom Ayo believed she and her mom were the source of her problem. Also living in this house was a young lady named Miss Danella. Miss Danella was a confident, robust, and tall woman with safe eyeball. She was a resilient, assertive, and very independent woman. Her eyeball are almond shaped, dark brown with dark eyelashes, and her beauty was the type that made those princess faces on billboard look as paper thin as they are. Though living in the village, she looked like her beauty cannot be affected by age. Moreover, she was not only a woman of physical beauty, she was a woman of beauty blended with virtue in her neighborhood and in the school where she worked as a teacher. All pupils wish she was their class teacher or their English teacher just for her to enter their class and speak to them, because she was always well dressed, brave, graceful, and full of life. She was a calm woman who cared and had compassion on her students. She made sure they understand her classwork. She never laughed at their mistake. Instead, she patiently corrects them, making each pupil a valued individual. She welcomed most of her pupils in her house, especially those who volunteered to help her in her domestic chores, for which she showed gratitude and appreciates them for all kinds of assistance they offer. She often settled disputes among students, considering different perspectives and making well-informed decisions on every issue. Because of this positive quality, she rarely had misunderstanding with anyone at school where she taught. Sincerely speaking, she was very keen in taking care of others, because aside teaching, she listened to her students' personal challenges and offered them useful pieces of advice in due course. Ayo loves so many things about Miss Danella. First and foremost, she never joined Miss Kuti and her mom to abuse or molest her and Afe. Moreover, when she talked, her voice was like a melodic siphon that is enchanting to all that hear her. Her laughter was like a chorus of silver bells that filled the air with joy, and her presence attracts attention and admiration to all. This makes it very difficult for anyone who come across her to resist her. Aside her rich dark complexion, her long hair danced with wind when she didn't cover it, and she always wear a matching costume. Miss Danella was one of the women whom the world called a woman who dressed like every day is Christmas Day, because her slogan is, "The way you dress is the way you will be addressed," and she was the most peaceful neighbor in that house. But in this Face Me and Face You bungalow, there was some common practice during hot weather. such as keeping a bowl of water in the evening so it will get cold and later drank it before going to bed. Not only that, all the tenants in the house gather together enjoying fresh breeze at the backyard, gisting about the most recent gossip in the village. Who gets pregnant out of wedlock, who is stealing in the neighborhood and shouldn't be allowed to enter into our face me and face you where we were living so he won't come back to steal. Those who cook without meat in the neighborhood and those whose husband is planning to marry second wife. All this gossip were common practice in those days. And so, it was one of this evening Miss Daniela made it known to all that in the house that her younger sister called Stella would be getting married. She gave the detail of the wedding plan, that the wedding will hold in the popular hotel called Roxin at Ikaga, far from their hometown. So it was only the introduction ceremony that will hold in their hometown. It was because it was believed that the marriage ceremony would be a success only when it was celebrated outside their hometown. Moreover, she would need the assistance of everyone in the neighborhood for the cooking, since the cooking will be done in Eruga, after which it will be packed to Ikaga. 2 days to the wedding, which was a day to introduction. Lots of food items were brought into the veranda of the house, like turkey, chicken, fish, vegetable, yam, rice, palm oil, vegetable oil, and enough of stew and soup ingredients. On introduction day, the food cooked that day was massive. Different type of food with stew and local soup with assorted meat. But something happened that saddened Ayo's mind. Though there were more than enough food, as we all know, all children were bound to be covetous. And so, Ayo and his siblings were expecting their mom to give them from the food that was cooked that day. But to their greatest surprise, they were not given. Ayoka, who is now a teenager, went to the server and collected a portion for herself. Ajayi ate the leftover from his class teacher who came to grace the occasion. Ayo and Afa stayed close to Miss Daniela's door and collected leftover food from unknown visitor who came to celebrate with Miss Daniela. This they ate until they were satisfied. After the wedding celebration, 2 coolers of food were brought back to Eruga to get the picture that the food that was prepared was more than enough for the wedding celebration. It was out of this leftover untouched cooler of food their mom gave Ayo and her sibling to eat, which Ayoka refused to eat from, saying she ate from the food when it was being served. Few days after the wedding program, Mr. Alade came back because he traveled for a week program with one of his friends, and he asked his wife, Mama Ade, did you give the children from the food that was cooked on the introduction and wedding day? Mrs. Alade snapped, no, I made pap and bean cake for them on the first day, and on the second day, I cooked yam with stew. In surprise, he shouted, don't you eat from the food yourself? And he replied angrily, I took my portion which I ate alone. Mr. Alade was furious and he said, you are once a child before you grow up to be an adult. In occasion like this, all the children at home should be served with more than enough food, so they won't be eating guests left over. Mrs. Alade replied angrily, raised his eyebrow. If I caught any of them doing so, I would have beat them mercilessly, because of those Tuesdays, I cooked more than enough food which they didn't eat. In fact, I have to throw the leftover food away since they didn't finish it. Mrs. Alade left the sitting room where he was discussing with her husband and speak loudly. You want to start teaching these children to be covetous. What is right that they haven't eaten before? Mr. Alade replied angrily, why did you eat from it? Mrs. Alade did not reply to this question, but what she said was a surprise. She said when the 2 coolers of food were brought, they were given more than enough to eat. Mr. Alade was so furious and he said, so it was leftover that was good for your children, who took part in the cooking, assisting them to wash some plates and serve some guests. Anyway, the deed is done. But next time, I will go to the server and personally request for food for my children. Thanks for watching this video. State your comment and opinion on this. 1. Ade styles of teaching. The children's decision that Jade should carry the stepmother, since a mother in need is a mother indeed. Mr. Alade, who rebuked his wife for not giving the children from party food. Watch out on what Mr. Alade's next decision will be now that he was not going for his master degree program. Don't forget to subscribe as you follow me on African true life story of a destined child called Ayo.